Did you know that Christ said the Pharisees were of their father the devil, and he was from a different father? Christ said he was from above, and they were from below. This was a reference to El being the higher deity and Yahweh being the lesser one. Jesus also told the Pharisees that they didn't know him or his father, and they would die because of their sin. The parable of the weeds and the wheat symbolizes Yahweh coming, obscuring the truth, and stealing El's kingdom. However, the belief systems of Yahweh and El became too entwined so that nothing could be done until harvest. At harvest, Christ extracted wheat from the weeds. Jesus said the enemy who sows them is the devil. Yahweh is Satan. In the wolf and the good shepherd parable, Christ as his father El is the gate, and Christ on earth is the good shepherd. Given that the thief in the parable would have to be a murderer, biblically the one who did have a bit of a penchant for killing and destroying was Yahweh. Yahweh had come to steal from El those who worshipped him, and he proceeded to do a bunch of killing and destroying. Practically all his actions in the Old Testament serve as a testament to that. The devil never was symbolized as a wolf, but Rome was. The wolf was the greatest symbol of Rome, for it is a focal element of their founding myth. The mythological brothers Romulus and Remus, who founded Rome, were nurtured by a she-wolf. The satanic impostor is Yahweh, trying to steal the initial god El's sheep from him. When Christ said to the Pharisees, "You're not my sheep," he meant they were Yahweh's sheep, and through his ministry, Christ saved the sheep that belonged to him from the potential fate brought by the wolf Rome. And upon being confronted by the threat of Rome's military prowess, the false god, the thief, Yahweh, scattered. This actually transpired several decades after Christ's death. The Jews revolted against Rome, and several 100,000 died in the Jewish-Roman wars. Christians were spared. Also, Christ eventually managed to tame the wolf when the Roman Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity. Revelation describes a leopard lion bear beast as a satanic entity. Here is what Yahweh said in the Old Testament. When you are full, you became arrogant. That is why you forgot me. So I will be like a lion. Like a leopard, I will wait by the road to ambush you. Like a bear that has lost her cubs, I will attack you. I will rip you open. Like a lion, I will devour you. Like a wild animal, I will tear you apart. You are destroying yourself, Israel. You are against me, your helper. In the following are the New Testament verses. Your opponent, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion as he looks for someone to devour. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's feet. Its mouth was like a lion's mouth. All the people of the world were amazed and followed the beast. According to the New Testament, no one has ever seen God. Laws were given through Moses, but kindness and truth came into existence through Yeshua Christ. No one has ever seen God. God's only Son, the one who is closest to the Father's heart, has made him known. In the Old Testament, Yahweh is indeed seen. Then Yahweh said, "Look, there's a place near me. Stand by this rocky cliff. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a crevice in the cliff and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you'll see my back, but my face must not be seen." And there has never been another prophet in Israel like Moses, whom Yahweh dealt with face to face. The God of Christ is constantly associated with euphoric light in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, Yahweh is associated with gloomy darkness. He surrounded himself with darkness. He made the dark rain clouds his covering. In the New Testament, Jesus says, "If your child asks you for bread, would any of you give him a stone? Or if your child asks you for a fish, would you give him a snake? Even though you're evil, you know how to give good gifts to your children. So how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him?" While in the Old Testament, Yahweh specifically sent poisonous snakes to kill his people when they frustratingly said there was no bread or water. And the New Testament describes Moses as having met an angel on Mount Sinai. Exodus clearly describes Moses as having met Yahweh on Mount Sinai. Moses is described as being veiled, and the God of this world, the God Moses would have worshipped, Yahweh, blinded the minds of those who didn't believe. And Revelation in the New Testament. introduces us to demonic creatures that are awfully fond of fire. Another sign appeared in the sky, a huge fiery red serpent with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its heads. The huge serpent was thrown down. That ancient snake named Devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world, was thrown down to earth. The second beast performs spectacular signs. It even makes fire come down from heaven to earth in front of the people. It deceives those living on earth with the signs that it is allowed to do in front of the first beast. Here are some Old Testament verses in which Yahweh is described as being just like these fire beasts. I called on Yahweh in my distress. I called to my Elohim for help. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry for help reached his ears. Then the earth shook and quaked. Even the foundations of the mountains trembled. They shook violently because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils, and a raging fire came out of his mouth. Glowing coals flared up from it. He spread apart the heavens and came down with a dark cloud under his feet. He rode on one of the angels as he flew, and he soared on the wings of the wind. He made the darkness his hiding place, the dark rain clouds his cover. When Solomon finished praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings and the other sacrifices, and Yahweh's glory filled the temple. The priests couldn't go into Yahweh's temple because Yahweh's glory had filled Yahweh's temple. When all the Israelites saw the fire come down and Yahweh's glory on the temple, they knelt down with their faces on the pavement. They worshipped and praised Yahweh. Fire came from Yahweh and consumed the 250 men who were offering incense. For more on Christ's true message and evidence that Yahweh is Satan, check out the link to my free book, which you can find in my bio and comment section.